Now, WJC's Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank.
And welcome into Purple Playbook. I'm Alex Glaze, joined as always by two-time Super Bowl champion Torrey Smith. We're in the middle of summer break, kind of in the dog days of summer a little bit. Training camp dates just announced, though, so it's getting closer to the real thing.
I was getting a little bit closer, and the number one sign, besides the Ravens being on break here, is when that temperature starts to feel like you don't want to go outside as much, you know training camp is near.
The temperature and the humidity up as well. And it was like that the last couple of days of mandatory minicamp as well. And we got a chance to actually hear from Kyle Hamilton, who obviously is a big part of the Ravens defense and has been for the last couple of years. He's coming off another All-Pro season. He's a three-time All-Pro, three-time Pro Bowler. I think the best defensive player in the AFC now, no question, with Myles Garrett out of the picture here, right? But he thinks that he can unlock another level of his play. Everyone calls him the ultimate chess piece and a jack of all trades, but he says he doesn't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none.
It's not a matter of doing a ton of different stuff. It's just getting better at everything that I have been doing, and I feel like I got a long way to go to be where I feel like I can be as a player. I'm excited, just perfect my craft or get as close as I can to it.
I think he's a one-of-one player in this league. The things that he's able to do, the things that he's able to be a lead at. Great to have a guy like that. And again, he's a guy that you can put him in one spot, he can maybe be the best in the league. Put him in another spot, he could be the best in the league. Put him in another spot, he could be the best in the league. Very unique, very happy and blessed to have him here.
Jesse Minter, of course, going to be calling the defense. This his first time really getting to work with Kyle. But, of course, in Los Angeles, he had someone very similar in Derwin James, another versatile safety in the league. Just kind of what are you expecting to see from Kyle Hamilton this year? He's looking to unlock another level, if that's even possible. What are you expecting?
I think the same thing. You know, you have a player, as he alluded to, who's one of the best players in the league. And like you said, quite possibly the best.
I think he is.
I would like
question.
to say he's the best player in the AFC, but, you know.
Best player. I said
the best
defensive player. Okay.
Lamar Jackson's still on his team. The best defensive player, but I don't want to disrespect T.J. Watt all the way. That is a guy that's been the MVP, led the league. So I'm going to be nice a little bit to the guys up in Pittsburgh. However, when you talk about Kyle Hamilton, he is a Swiss Army knife. I think he's going to be used the exact same way. You would be a fool to keep him away from the line of scrimmage. So he's a player that I anticipate being close to the line of scrimmage, blitzing, using his pass rushing ability, because we teach our kids, and the way football works is that football is all about timing and spacing. Well, when you have a guy, and on defense, you're trying to disrupt timing and disrupt spacing. So you do that by creating matchups. That's why you blitz, right? You try to get a numbers game. You try to get leverage matchups. And you have a guy like Kyle Hamilton who can do everything, right? He's strong enough to compete straight up with the linemen.
Correct.
He's fast enough that they can't really touch him. And then if he gets one-on-one blocked by a running back, good luck, right? So he's a guy that, you know, the strength of his team, and with Jesse Minter, and also having a cheat look at how it looked with Derwin James, a playmaker in his own right, you can see Kyle Hamilton all over the place, just simply being a playmaker for this defense.
And bigger than that, too, I mean, you know this as a coach yourself, he also makes you think when he starts to creep down, you have to factor that in because he's so impactful in the pass rush game. Even if he doesn't come, he's already disrupting your pre-snap thoughts and maybe what you're seeing. So he's fooling quarterbacks before the ball's even snapped.
I mean, he is, man, and you have to account for him. You know, similar to how it was when Ed Reed was back there. Yeah. You're looking, and I was just watching a video the other day of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady both talking about how he had written on his wristband, fine 20, yeah. Right? That's how it is with Kyle Hamilton. And yes, some older Ravens fans may get in their feelings like, well, Ed Reed's the best safety ever. He is, right? And Ed Reed was in the back end. But Kyle Hamilton is everywhere. And you have to know where he is.
Absolutely. Well, another guy on the defense that I think people are looking to take a big step forward this year is Mike Green. We know that the pass rush really struggled last year for a number of reasons. Mike Green, I think he would even tell you, didn't have the year that he wanted. I believe 3.5 sacks last season in his rookie year. But it feels like there's something more there. And defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver says that he put together a mock-up, like a cut-up of tape, and showed that to Mike, that actually showed him that he's close to double-digit sacks.
Super excited. There's so many plays, and I made this cut up for him where I showed him just how close he was to potentially having like a double-digit sack season. So it's not an ability thing. We need the corresponding rush, the corresponding coverage to help out. But he is milliseconds away from having double-digit sacks, and we're going to do everything we can to try to make that happen this year.
I don't think anyone wants to hear about almost having double-digit sacks. But I also think that there's a number of reasons why Mike probably didn't have the production he did last year. You know, injuries to guys like Tavius Robinson. So Mike probably having to play a little bit more or a little bit outside of what maybe you would expect him to be as far as like pass rush and putting him in different situations. But what are you expecting from Mike this year? It looks like he put on a little bit of muscle.
No, he did. He looks good. And I'm anticipating him just simply taking that step forward. I think when you are expecting guys to be heroes, you end up being disappointed. I do believe he has the ability, and I love the coaching aspect that exists in simply believing that, hey, you were right there, because it's the truth. When you look at film, and by the way, sacks are like touchdowns. I remember the one year I could have had probably 20, and I decided to get tackled inside the 5-yard line like 6-7 times, right? And you look and you're like, it was that simple. It's one little thing. You do this one thing. But again, the elite ones get paid because that's what they do. They decide that I'm going to make that play. There's not going to be any kind of disruption. I'm going to finish. So I know for him, I'm expecting a guy that is going to take that step forward, and I see maybe 7 or 8 sacks, which is a big deal and very productive for this defense.
For you, you just didn't want to hit that bonus, right? You just wanted to leave a
Yeah,
little
you
bit
don't
of
want
money.
to
You just wanted to leave a little bit of money on the table. That's all you.
Right, that's all. I didn't
You're
want
a nice
any
guy.
of it.
Nice
Didn't
guy.
want
You're
any
taking
of
care
it
of the owners there. But Mike also, he's got some vets in the room now, right? He learned from a Trey Hendrickson. You know, T-Rob, of course, a good vet there as well. Just what do you think that can do for a young guy, and also being coached by Anthony Weaver, who's been there? He knows what it's like. He's actually played the position.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better feeling than having a coach that's been there. One, it helps to build your confidence. You're talking about players that have been through it. So when you talk, when your coach who's actually played is telling you, hey, man, you're right there, it's different than a guy that's been watching video proof and a guy that's actually been there and done it, right? And that's no disrespect to coaches, but I do think that means a big deal. But also, this scheme is built for him. It's built for playmakers, guys that have the ability to go. And like you alluded to from the beginning, this team is healthier. They have big guys up front. I always say, if you show me a great pass rush, I'll show you a great secondary. Well, we know the secondary is going to be solid, but if you show me some great interior linemen, I'll show you some great pass rushers on the outside, because they're going to have favorable matchups as well. And by the way, Kyle Hamilton is included in that count. So he's going to be in position. It's just on him to win his one-on-ones.
Very interesting to hear him talk on the Ravens podcast as well, and say that old coaching maybe had him play a little more conservative. And this coaching staff basically is just saying, go. So going to be interesting to see what Mike Green is able to do this year. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are talking wide receivers. You know, Torrey loves to talk wide receivers. A big talking point for the past couple of weeks. Did the Ravens have enough to win? When we're talking about that wide receiver room, we're going to break it all down when Purple Playbook continues.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. The winning prognosis, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. Care bravely.
And welcome back to Purple Playbook. Alex Glaze alongside Super Bowl champion, two-time Super Bowl champion Torrey Smith. We got to talk wide receivers a little bit. Cordell Woodland, friend of the show, over at 105.7 The Fan, started a little bit of a debate when he went on the Locked On Ravens podcast and gave his thoughts on whether or not he believes that the Ravens wide receiver room has enough to win a Super Bowl this year.
I don't think that if you're realistically looking at this year as a team that is Super Bowl, a true Super Bowl contender, they should. I don't think that this is the wide receiver core that they should be going out there with. To be honest with you, I do think they need more of sure things.
All right, Zay Flowers actually commented on Twitter as well. So the Ravens wide receiver room heard Cordell loud and clear. Let's take a look at the top 5 pass catchers that the Ravens will have on their roster this year. Of course, you got Zay Flowers, 2-time Pro Bowler, right? We don't need to say much more about that. Rashad Bateman, I think a lot of people would say this is a big year for Bate after having a disappointing season last year. Tez Walker, a guy that everyone's looking to have a breakout. Looked like he was going to have that year last year. Didn't quite happen. And then 2 rookies, Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt. Big picture, I think that what Cordell is saying is there's a lot of question marks in this wide receiver room. I personally disagree with what he's saying, but I see
question marks. You just said it ain't enough. straight up.
Well, later on, he said there's some questions. He wants a sure thing, and he's talking about bringing in another vet. I know that you've mentioned that as well. Do you think that the Ravens need to bring in another vet?
I think you always bring in another vet for competition, but anyone that truly knows what this roster is, in my opinion, you have your 1 and 2. You have, obviously, Zay Flowers, but Rashad Bateman. If he's healthy, he can be one of the better receivers in this league.
But people question if Zay is a true 1, and people don't even consider Bate.
But that's why I hate the titles of number 1 receiver, because I'll stand up here all day saying, well, do the Ravens have enough? This guy has to have, Zay's had 1,000-some yards the last couple of seasons.
Correct.
Right? I played on 2 Super Bowl teams, 0 1,000-yard receivers. We had 2 receivers that maybe had 7, 8, whatever it was. We had a tight end that was very well, that was solid in Zach Ertz, and back then it was Pitta and Ed Dixon, by the way, 2 guys that were sharing at the tight end position. You had a guy that was a threat in the middle. You had to have a formidable offense. Everyone falls in love with individuals that help you get over the hump. But when you look at the majority of the teams that actually go and win it, and I know for myself we had 2 teams that neither one of them had a 1,000-yard receiver. When I go back and I think about it, let's talk about Philly even recently when they had the opportunity to win it with, yes, they have 2 very good receivers on the outside, but they had guys that were doing their role that made big plays. Football's a team game. Can you do it with just an ace? Sure. Will you do it with that guy alone? No. So it's about a committee approach and having guys that are available and have different strengths that can go out there and perform at a high level.
This might sound crazy because you just looked at that graphic and you saw Rashad Bateman's numbers. I think that this is actually setting up to be a breakout year for Bate just because of the offense that Declan Doyle runs. And you know a lot more than me, so I'm going to defer to you here. This offense is going to be all about timing and rhythm and hitting guys in stride. Bateman is a route runner. He doesn't really thrive to me in like that backyard style. So I can see Bate having that breakout year because he's a guy that he does get open. He can route you up. Mm-hmm. And I think what did I say? 800 yards and 6 touchdowns is what I had
That's
for
a
Bate,
solid
for Bate
year.
this year.
That's a solid year because you're going to have Zay.
Zay's
getting the volume of the targets, period.
For sure.
If you have your rookies contribute in a lightweight 25 to 30 catches, that's a big deal. And by the way, Derrick Henry is still on his team. So the ball is going to get ran. I just saw Adam Randall a few days ago, right, at the rec center. And
he's about as tall as you.
He's 238. I'm like, it's hard for me seeing him like that. And it's weird because I coached him when he was a receiver, a big one, but he was a receiver, and to see him now, I'm like, dude, you are a grown man, right? That's a real deal explosive threat that's a part of this offense. Don't fall in love with numbers and what you think it should be. They have enough weapons to go forward and compete for a Super Bowl.
And we haven't even talked about tight end. We haven't even mentioned Mark Andrews, his favorite, security blanket. And 2 rookie tight ends, which I'm interested to see how that plays out, but from everything I've seen this offseason, those guys can roll.
Absolutely, man. Listen, it's a committee approach. I'll say that all day. I truly believe in it. I think that's where the best teams thrive because, yes, there have been teams that we've seen them with the ace, the number 1 receiver on their team, but I'd like you to go and say how many of them. The offensive player of the year, JSN from the Seattle Seahawks, what did he do in the Super Bowl? He had one major play, right? I watched it. Unfortunately, he did bang his head a little bit. I actually sat directly next to his mom at the Super Bowl.
I thought you were setting me up. I'm thinking back to the Super Bowl. I'm like, I don't think JSN did much.
But from a fan perspective, you say, well, they had him. That's why they won the Super Bowl. No, they won because that defense was absolutely disgusting, and the Patriots couldn't do anything.
And Kenneth Walker went off.
And they ran the ball. It's a team approach. Just stop falling in love with names and thinking you have to have a certain number, a number 1, a number 2. You just need guys that can go and guys that can make plays, period.
All right, so they got enough.
They do.
All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are playing Something or Nothing. Stick with us. You're watching Purple Playbook.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. The Bottom Line, brought to you by M&T Bank.
And welcome back to Purple Playbook. It's time for Something or Nothing. I'm going to throw out a topic, Torrey, and you tell me if it's something or nothing. Mm-hmm. We got to start with, you want to give love to Pittsburgh earlier in the show. So
not too much. Respect.
So now I'm going to get you to take
respect more than love.
Maybe you'll take it back because Ben Roethlisberger had a lot to say this week about the Ravens He says that the Super Bowl window has closed for this team. He's talking about John Harbaugh being gone, Derrick Henry 1 year older, and he's still wondering what happened with Lamar Jackson, and maybe thinks Lamar's kind of on the downslope of his career as well. What do you think? Is that something or nothing?
It's nothing, because who cares what Ben Roethlisberger thinks? I mean, like, come on, man. He's never going to say anything positive anyway. But I do believe that as long as you have Lamar Jackson, your window is there. It's funny because he's the same guy that people were saying that about in Pittsburgh, but he was in his 30s. Lamar Jackson is still in his 20s and is very much the best player in the league. So I do like Ben Roethlisberger. However, seems like this is the guy that's trying to pump up the sorry Steelers. Like, they're terrible. I don't care who they have at quarterback. Obviously, they have their guy back, and it's been a battle just because of the actual teams. But they had this false sense of reality that all of a sudden Pittsburgh is going to change because Mike Tomlin was the problem. They're going to find out real quick the roster is still trash. So
I think
stay in Pittsburgh.
I think they're going to find out that Mike Tomlin maybe deserves a little more credit than what he was getting there.
Absolutely.
But it's also interesting because I think that, I don't want to put you in a tough spot, but I think people give a lot of credit to John Harbaugh. And that's interesting too, because I think the people in New York are about to find out that maybe is,
Man, you asked me this, right? This is completely out of respect for all coaches. I love Coach Harbaugh. That's my guy. He's an excellent coach. You're never going to hear me say anything other than that because it would be a lie to say he's a bad coach. I get it. They lost or whatever, but the team was always great. I still believe games are won and lost by players. I think coaches are figureheads, and they're just there to cast a vision, and Coach Harbaugh did that just as good as anyone else. But when you're able to change things up and have a fresh feel, I do think there's a lot of positivity to that. Like, my only change with real coaches, obviously I played on 4 different teams, but I've only really seen a true transition between a new coach when I was in San Francisco. Both years we had new coaches. So I came in, and it was each summer was a new transition with coaches. You can get energized by that, or it can be you're kind of going through the motions. And I've been in situations where we didn't necessarily believe that we were going to be these amazing teams. Well, I did. I was a little delusional. You realize on the back end. But it still matters what you have roster-wise. The head coach has to have the ability to communicate. I think Chip Kelly did a great job with that. I think Jim Tomsula struggled with that a little bit, even though his heart and intentions were there. I think what the Ravens have right now, culture-wise, is as best as it's been since I was here as a player, watching from the outside, and even now, like, it's an exciting feel around there, and that's special.
To be clear, I wasn't talking about John from like a coaching.
No,
I think it was like a message, and maybe like the whole thing with his message runs stale here, because I think everything from what I've seen from being out at OTAs at mandatory camp, these guys are loving this new young staff they're able to relate to, and it just, like you said, that breath of fresh air seems like it's gotten some new energy.
No, I believe it. I think sometimes, again, you have to shake things up. Even though I think he deserved to be fired, I think that's a debatable thing, but I understand the why of it, and I think they got it right. They haven't played a game yet, but I will tell you this. The majority of games and won and lost and a team being a good team and you're going to be able to survive the tough parts is by having a strong culture. And right now, they are building an extremely strong culture.
Absolutely. And the next topic we have is another one that's relevant to Pittsburgh, because I think they're interested in this guy as well. Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby was obviously the big topic around all of college football, and really now it's stretched into the NFL here. Applied for the NFL's supplemental draft. He's ruled ineligible by the NCAA, of course, for betting on college football games, including some of his own games here. Torrey.
But I think it's important to mention, he didn't say his teams were going to lose.
Okay.
He bet on his teams to win.
Okay. Still not allowed to do that.
I understand.
Still bad.
He should be in trouble. It's something.
You're saying he was not throwing games. He was not throwing games.
It's something. Yes.
Okay.
He's not throwing games. And people may not like what I'm about to say. But when it comes to betting and gambling, you should not be able to do it as an athlete that's competing on a team. But if you're betting on your team to win, like, I don't see why he's being treated as if he was out here trying to get rich off of busting everyone's parlay by taking the under, by being trash, throwing picks, and making sure his team doesn't get it done. Should he have been gambling? No. Is it against the rules? Yes. But what I've seen out of these kids and this culture and this new generation who we forced them into gambling because it's on their phones, he didn't bet against his team. I think he's being treated like he's a villain because he bet. I think it's the difference between betting on your team and being a guy that's throwing games, which you've seen guys in college football and in the NBA who were doing things to hurt their team.
To manipulate outcomes.
Yes.
Okay.
He didn't manipulate anything. Should he do it? No. I don't want anybody to say like, oh, Torrey said he should be gambling. I'm not saying he should be gambling. But what I am saying is that's a talented player who people made him feel like he has a gambling problem, and he played the whole PR game of I got to get treatment and help. Dude does not have a gambling problem. He was gambling. He was being what these kids are now. Half of these people out here have FanDuels and things like that. He just bet on his team, which was dumb. Rule number one, that was broken. However, I don't see it. People are going to say, oh, you're going to get this guy that was gambling. Some people are going to be like, they shouldn't pick him in the pros. Yes, you should.
Really quick, how do NFL front offices view him?
I view him as a good player that delete the apps off your phone, dude, and play ball. He's a guy that had a shot at being a top 10 pick next year. You can steal this guy in the 4th, 5th round because it's a supplemental draft. I would do it. He's not a bad kid. He had to play the PR game to act like he has this major problem. Oh, I got to seek help. That is what people do when they got to save face publicly. He just messed up by gambling on his team, which is dumb, but he didn't bet against his team.
Well, we're going to find out what happens with him in July. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the show. You're watching Purple Playbook.
My bad.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. Now, WJC's Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank.
And that'll do it for this week's Purple Playbook. For two-time Super Bowl champion Torrey Smith, I'm Alex Glaze. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week.